Amit Graham McDougall, National Practice Lead, SAP Customer Engagement and Commerce for Fujitsu Australia. Good to have you, Graham.
Thank you.
My first question to you, you're the National Practice Lead. CRM is a big part of this. What does your role entail?
So I run a team of around just over 100 consultants nationally. We specialise in SAP, so I'm part of a broader SAP business across Australia. We have several practices. My role focuses on several fronts. First of all, capability development, so developing not only our technical skills but our soft skills with our consultants. It is about driving opportunities into the market, about being able to, I guess for a better word, advertise Fujitsu's capability and promote ourselves as experts and expertise in that space, and being able to generate opportunities, and ultimately is being able to deliver on those customers and the projects, on the solutions that we're taking to market. And I guess to wrap all that up is to be able to add value to the customers that we engage with, and to be a point of difference, not just in terms of the solution, but in terms of the quality of the people, our consulting expertise, the timeliness, the quality of the work that we do, and to be able to differentiate ourselves in the market from our competitors. So that's sort of where my role sits.
Right. You've been in the industry, you've been in the sector for a long period of time. How does CRM practice position Fujitsu in the Australian market?
At the moment, I would say we've probably got the largest CRM practice. I think what's interesting is SAP has made some significant changes in the last 18 months to 2 years around what constitutes CRM in the market. SAP had a traditional on-premise CRM solution which competed with products like Salesforce, Siebel, but it was all around purely the more traditional CRM process around the sales, service, marketing. I think SAP come to the realisation, and myself also, because the product had some limitations at that stage, was that there was a lot more to CRM, and hence why SAP has repackaged their offering to customer engagement and commerce, and the alignment that I've got from a practice perspective. So now the solution is not just on the traditional customer processes, but it's all around how do we engage people through an omni-channel, how do we understand who our customer and who our citizen is, and how do we simplify and promote the ways of engaging between citizens and the customers that we deal with as well. So the solution offering is a lot more extensive than we had before, and it really covers all angles of customer engagement, not just the traditional CRM processes. So I think that's what's different, and that's applicable for both public sector and private. I think in the public sector it's all around citizen engagement. How do we deliver services more proactively to government? How do we drive efficiency through processes, and how do we understand what the needs of our citizens are? And that translates into the non-public sector as well.
In terms of the customer relationship market, in terms of the customers, how do you characterize the Australian market, the public and private sector?
I think there's technology, and we talk a lot around the digitisation of the economy, and Australia, like a lot of other countries globally, consumers, citizens are embracing that digitisation. Right. And the challenge for organisations, for different public sector departments, is how do we embrace those technology changes, and how do we manage the expectations of citizens and of customers. And there's a lot of use cases, you know, that we talk about with our customers, but you know, simple use cases from a public sector is, how do I know what services are available to me? Where do I go? does the department know that I've actually got benefits in Department A? They're providing me services over in C. What relevancy do I have to the government when I go and engage with them? So that the government should be able to get on the front foot in terms of knowing who the citizen is and what services they provide. And I think equally the expectations, particularly with Gen Y and some of the younger generation now, is the type of services and products and how they expect to engage with customers is a lot different.
Yeah.
It's a lot more personal now.
Yeah.
And people expect to walk into the store. They want our customers to recognise that their buying behaviour, their preferences, how they want to engage. So the market is quite mature in terms of our citizens and our consumers. I think the challenge is how do we bridge that from a technology to enable that? And that's a lot of the role that I play is, you know, how do we bring that value to the table as well, and what are the solutions that underpin it? And equally, how do we deliver that in a low risk, efficient and scalable way for customers as well?
So you touched on the technology. Is the technology ready now for that kind of engagement?
Yeah, it is. I think 3 years ago I would have given a different answer to that. I think in the SAP space, the HANA in-memory database is a significant move forward in terms of being able to have analytics that run over productive data in real time, being able to manage big data, being able to get the customer insight that we want. I think the ability for the Hybris acquisition, which SAP went down, and Hybris is the #1 global e-commerce vendor, but it's not so much just the fact that it can provide a commerce solution, but it can be adapted to different industry verticals, including the public sector, and it can empower organisations to take ownership of that channel engagement. You know, and the classic scenario is of a website where we've got to get a developer in to publish new content on the website. So the tools are there now to empower the administrators and the business rather than the IT department to be able to take ownership of those solutions. And I think if we look at from a back office, the concept of mobile ready nowadays is that we don't need to develop apps. We can deploy our back office solution, whether we're doing opportunity pipeline management, whether we're doing marketing, but those solutions are accessible on any device, anywhere, anytime. And I think those advances in technology, and it's not just in SAP, it's the broader where technology is moving at this point. That's what makes it exciting. And I think the opportunities to create significant value without the traditional investment that was required in the infrastructure, given that, you know, we're deploying everything on the cloud. The pricing structures for software as a service is very different to what was available traditionally. I think when you add all of those up, it's an exciting time from a solutions point of view as to what we can bring to the market in terms of value.
So if the technology is ready, I'm going to bring you to the other side, which is the organizational readiness, particularly the public sector, is not known to have a very agile management structure or the view of the world. How do these things merge in your world?
There's got to be an appetite for innovation within the public sector, and having worked with some of the federal and state departments, my own personal view is that the appetite is there. I think the understanding of what's possible and what's not, I think is the areas that need to be developed out further. And what are the use case scenarios where we can embrace technology? I think government is structurally very rigid. I think that the empowerment of people to be able to seek and drive innovation without the constraints of what typically you have around IT departments in government. And I think that bridging between IT and the staff within government department needs to be a lot more transparent, because I think a lot of the innovation comes from the people that are at the coalface dealing with the citizens.
Yeah.
They can see where the opportunities and the efficiency arise. I think it's how agile a department can be. I think there's a lot of challenges around what is their underpinning IT strategy and their infrastructure, and how agile does that make them as an organisation. Where do they supplement skills externally? What skills do they retain in-house? Where do they invest? Are all significant challenges that are playing out in government today at federal and at state level. And even at a third level, down to a council level, there's some fantastic illustrations in Australia, in New Zealand, of councils that are really trying to change the way that they deliver services out to the community. And technology is a key in underpinning that. If the technology is there, then the organisation needs to understand how we apply that technology, what are the use cases for it, and how do they as an organisation embrace that as well.
You touched on the innovation side, that organisations could innovate with systems like CRM. The whole world is talking about public sector innovation. What are some of the key elements that you see that are required, that are essential for that kind of large innovations?
I think it was interesting that we had a change of government, Prime Minister last night, and a very different focus on innovation and how much he embraced the digital economy was one of the statements that Malcolm Turnbull made last night in his speech. But I think for public sector, they are very rigid organisations, and I think it's a leadership issue as to how much we want to embrace technology and how much within Australia we want to be investing in being world leading in terms of how we promote and engage citizens through our government departments. So the biggest barrier for me is the appetite and investment from government to be able to open up those doors and allow that innovation. I think across industry, across partners like Fujitsu, across the people that work in those government departments, the opportunities and the willingness to go and embrace change and deliver something better than what we are doing now is recognised. I think the agent of change there is really that political agenda and the investment that can make that happen. I think to me that's the major, and there's a lot of conferences and seminars that I attend around this, and the real theme to that is, where are departments on their digital journey? Do they know where they've got to land in terms of, what is it, what's the nirvana that we're trying to reach, and what is required to do that? And it's not just the technology, it's what's the migration of skills within the government department. We have people with traditional mainframe skills that exist and quite heavy in a lot of the government departments. As we move to these new technologies, what's the impact to the people? How do we cross-train these people? How do we give them the opportunity to move into these new technologies as well? Where do we need to supplement that with skilled resources outside of the public sector to support that and empower their people to develop and grow these skills? And I think at the foundation of the public sector is that the skills, the people, and if we've got the investment and the drive from above, then I think Australia has a real opportunity to be a world leader in that space. And we're not unique. The same journey is happening globally at the moment within the public sector. I think the opportunity in Australia is how quick we recognise it and how quick we act on that as well.
You mentioned the digitization, the consumerization of IT. People are connected. This has allowed the companies, public sector, to be identifying our unique needs, almost singling out that you as an individual rather than you amongst one of the citizens. What will be the future like? We have come so much in the last 2-3 years. Well, what would be the future like?
I could imagine that a citizen is engaged through a government department in a predictive way.
Mm-hmm.
We look at the life cycle events that citizens go through, from adolescence, from whether they've got a career or not, whether they're on unemployment benefits, the family benefits that come through, the social service elements of once they get into aged care. The legislation and policies that underpin that, there are significant events in the life cycle of a particular citizen. I think the future is around people having awareness of what their entitlements are, what support services the government can provide to them, and being able to prepare themselves for that journey. So if in 2 years' time, take the car manufacturing industry, a person is potentially going to be unemployment benefits there. So what services and what offerings from the government can help that person, along with industry, to help transition them? And how do people know what services are available? How do they engage with them? So I think governments are in the business of being able to support and sell these services out there. And I think there's tangible savings in that to governments as well. So, if I imagine a world in the future, it's, I'm a citizen, the government's telling me that I'm entitled to, I'm having my first child, and this is a process I go through to apply. The government knows about me, it's a simple process to interact with them. That's the future. And you could translate that not just from public sector, but the non-public sector as well. The expectations are exactly the same. It's just a different service or a different product that's being offered out there as well. So I imagine the future is going to look very different to the traditional way that we engage with government now, which is we go into an office, we pick up a ticket, we take a queue. I think people's expectations are a lot different to that as well. And I remember 2 weeks ago I renewed my licence, and I renewed it online, but it was a 10-year licence, so I had to go down and take a photo. So I went into the RTA office in Victoria, I took a ticket and I sat down in the queue. And I imagine at that point that this is going to be a very different world in the future as to how those services are delivered out to consumers.
Graham McDougall, thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.